This is 40K Today. 40K news so safe, it's like a unit of custodies with storm shields inside a magic box out of range. Hi there, 40K friends and 40K family. Welcome to a special best of 40K Today. If you're new to 40K Today, let me tell you, Monday to Friday, we are your daily 15-minute news, views, and interviews deep dive into the whole hobby of Warhammer 40,000. And today we're going to bring you a selection of our favourite interviews from the week gone by. We want to say a massive thank you to our friends at Frontline Gaming for having us in on a Saturday. If you like what you hear, give us a listen during the week at 40ktoday.com, or you can find us via your favourite podcast player. I'm your host, Steve Joel, and today on the program we meet a genuine Warhammer hero. The man has his name on the wall at Warhammer Fest. Also, top player Skari from Scarredcast is going to give us the lowdown on how to play Harlequins with their new rules. Delio Pera just wrote and released some award-winning fan fiction. It's real good. We're going to catch up with him. And Adam from the Army Painter joins us. Their Nordic Shield hand sanitizer is being distributed in schools now. It's a packed show. So let's get it started. Real quick, who else is looking forward to the big preview from G-Dub on Twitch today, 2 p.m. British summertime? I wonder what we're going to find out. A lot of people have high hopes for this big preview. Join us on the show on Monday for a full breakdown of what's happened. We'll break it down for you. We'll have a close look at all the details. Now, we love highlighting Warhammer heroes on the show, and we've met some really great ones. People who champion the game in their local community, or who organise tournaments, or who create content, all just for the love of the game. We know there's no money in this stuff. This time round, we meet a man who has his name on the wall of heroes at Warhammer Fest. A legit Warhammer hero. He's a husband and father and hobbyist and blogger, and he even helps run a school club. John Damaris caught up with our hero, Andrew Dart.
Hello, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. And let's just talk about this thing. You're a legitimate Warhammer hero, which I think is really, really, really cool. So, like, we run a segment on the show that we call Warhammer Heroes, but you're actually dubbed by Games Workshop as a legitimate Warhammer hero.
Literal hero. That's right.
With a plaque on the wall, right, and everything, right?
Yep. Yeah, big medal, big ceremony.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So some of our listeners might not even know that GW has this Warhammer Hero program. You want to talk a little bit about what it is, and then we'll get into like how you got there.
Yeah. I think it started in 2018, 2 years ago, and they essentially opened up to the whole world this casting call, effectively, and people can send in nominations for someone they feel is a proponent of the hobby or someone that has an impact on the hobby in some positive way. And the Games Workshop would collect all of these nominations, and they'd sift through them, which I'm sure there were thousands of them. And they would pick the best, 10, 15, 20, and get back to those people, tell them they've been nominated, tell them that they won if they met the process, the criteria. And there'd be a big ceremony, like a banquet kind of ceremony. They'd fly you up and give you a big medal and a handshake and a fancy dinner.
That's fantastic. That is so cool. So one of the things I'm going to ask you for is if you have some pictures from that by chance, and we'll definitely link those on our social and link back to, because I know you do Hobby Vices and some pretty cool things. Sure. So if you were to guess, now I know that they don't actually tell you what you're nominated for, but if you were to guess, what would you think that you were what was the reason why you were nominated? What are the things that you're doing?
So the biggest thing that I do, probably that people notice, is the Ho Hobby Vices event. I've been doing it for 4 years so far, and what it is I will collect people that they send me their names, they send me their addresses, all their personal information, I guess, which I keep secure. And what I do is I put it in a spreadsheet, and I essentially hit the big red button, and it randomizes it, and people get blind paired with somebody else. And so it's a secret Santa swap, and you don't know who's sending you your gift because you are not sending that person a gift. It's totally 100% blind in that sense. And it's really fun to see it play out on social media. People tag it, and you can look it up and see all their gifts. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and then you're connecting people from all over the world, right, with this really neat, very personal thing, because painting a model is kind of a personal thing for somebody to share like that. So that's really cool. Really
it is,
cool.
yeah.
So Well, that's awesome. So you're a legitimate Warhammer hero. You do this. Do you do other things in the community? Like I heard that you do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I run a school club, a school Warhammer club for my students, and we meet every lunch hour and we play some games and just be a bunch of teenagers rolling dice, and it's pretty fun. I also have a fairly large Discord server, which is free to anybody to join. We just talk shop and critique each other's hobby stuff and give tips and tricks and advice, and it's just a overall welcoming place to be a part of.
Yeah, so we'll definitely link that as well. So I mean, not that I want to put you on the spot or anything, but
Mhm.
you truly are an ambassador for the game, right? Like
Yeah.
you're affecting kids, you're connecting people from across the world. It's not hard to imagine why GW would have chosen you as a Warhammer hero. And you guys can't see this, but I can. He's blushing over here. Poor Andrew. I apologize.
I'm very modest. I joke a lot about being a hero. I'll say I wear my medal all the time, but it's never about me. It's always about the kids and the people in the hobby, the community. That we just have to be welcoming and just open to all the people that want to be a part of it. Because whether you're a hardcore tournament player or a casual kind of fluffy player, you just paint models, you collect. We're all in the same hobby, regardless, and we just have to be accommodating of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that could have been said any better. And I mean, the cool thing about the hobby is it covers a whole range of people, young to old, and even now we're seeing more and more women. So we're crossing that gender barrier where we
Yeah,
didn't see that as much before. And then we see, like you said, super good hobbyists and people that are playing with just gray models because they enjoy the game or the lore, people that engage
sure.
it with books or the video games. And soon we're going to have a show on TV. Like, it's just growing like gangbusters. And I just want to take a moment and just thank you for your contribution, right? Because it's a big deal. Like, it is, when you are getting kids involved and you're getting people involved with each other, like, and let's be honest, you're not doing that for your benefit, right? Like, it
Right,
might make
right.
you feel good. You get the feel goods for it. That's cool. But that's a lot of work to take on just to make the community better. And so I think, sir, that's why you're a Warhammer hero.
Well, thank you.
All right. Thanks again.
That's John Damaris speaking with Andrew Dart. You can find out more about Andrew and follow his adventures in the hobby via his blog, hobbyvices.org. We'll make sure that link is in the show notes today. Now, Archon Skari, you've probably heard of him. He's been producing all kinds of amazing 40K content for a while. For a long time. He's got his own channel. He's part of Art of War. He's part of a whole bunch of stuff. He features on Mini Wargaming. He's one of the good guys, and John Damaris was lucky enough to sit down with him and get his impression on the Harlequins after their White Dwarf update for Psychic Awakening.
All right, Denizen of the Dark, Archon Skari. Were you as excited as everyone else seems to be about the new Harlequin buffs that are coming out in White Dwarf? Their Psychic Awakening, as it were?
Laughingly so. Yes, I was.
Okay,
Very excited.
perfect. Why don't you highlight a few of the things in there that you think are going to make a big difference, and from a competitive standpoint, like maybe give us your top 3 things that Harlequins got, and then we can talk about some of the other notable mentions.
Top 3 things. The first is the utility of the characters has increased exponentially. Whether you're running a Death Jester that can now deny Overwatch or do multiple hits on larger units to make it more effective against larger Horde-style units, or a Shadow Seer, for example, that can now not only shield your units from harm or just infantry, but with the new stratagems, shield vehicles and bikes with the -1 to wound aura, as well as increasing that defensive aura and even making the enemy ranges, like enemy weapons, be out of range, which I think is crazy powerful in a game of maneuverability and in a game of inches when it comes to keeping your Harlequins alive, which it used to be a big problem.
Okay, so these are all like special abilities that you can sort of trade in their bone stock special abilities, like the Shadow Seers. Is it -1 to wound?
So
Infantry around him normally, and
correct. However,
becomes-
there is a stratagem where you can spend a command point and keep your bonus and add an additional bonus on top of the bonus that they have.
Okay, so you have some flexibility. Quick question: do you think that when you'll choose those those things at list design, or do you get to choose them when you sit down on the table and see what you're playing against?
If you choose to replace their special rule, the pivotal role becomes part of the army list. If you choose to spend a command point to add it to their existing rule, then that is done pre-game.
Okay, cool. So that makes sense. So then you develop your basic strategy, and then if you sit down, you have some flexibility. You'd be like, well, I'm going to need X, whatever X is, and you can just add it on the fly, like adding a relic for someone else. I mean, they have to denote their warlord typically, but this is like adding additional. So I like
Correct.
that. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
you might not always want to give your solitaire an additional -1 to be hit. However, every once in a while, he's going to get stuck in, or he's facing units that have lots of attacks, and you want to sort of lower the risk. You can pay that extra command point so he keeps his blitz and also gets a -1 to be hit.
Oh, also you could give him the suit of hidden knives, and
Yes.
giving him just a flat out -1 is pretty gross on that, right? So explain that interaction for people, because that's actually kind of cool using one of their original relics.
So for all you 40K Today fans out there, that's what we in the professional scene call butt knives, where you make a Harlequin so hard to hit, a Harlequin solitaire so hard to hit, that the unit that attacked the solitaire kills themselves. The suit of hidden knives means that for every miss that the enemy does in close combat against you, you take a mortal wound on a 2+, I believe, or a 4+. It's one of those. I have it right here, actually. Hold on. Do you want to edit this out real quick? Just let me check that.
Yep,
Suit
no
hidden
problem.
knives is
I think it's actually for every 1 you roll to hit.
is it just automatic? I haven't used it in a long time.
I
No,
think
it's
it's
on
a
a
2+.
2+. On a 2+. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, let me. Where do you want to cut it? I'll just say it again.
Just cut in here.
So the suit of hidden knives is every time an enemy unit, an enemy model, rolls a 1 to hit in the fight phase on a 2+, that model's unit suffers a mortal wound, which means you can make a Harlequin. You can make a solitaire -1 to be hit with his new pivotal roll, in addition to giving him a -1 to be hit with lightning fast reflexes, giving him an additional -1 to be hit with a psychic power, and then casting a -1 to hit on the enemy unit that is going to be attacking the solitaire.
What's really funny about that is too, you can cast it on the unit and then charge him with the solitaire. He kills some, and they don't have the option to not swing back. And
Correct.
And in that case, for every 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 they roll, they're going to take a mortal wound on a 2+. So,
Correct, because modified it becomes a 1, and therefore on a 2+. So I've seen entire orc units kill themselves when enough of them have had to attack the solitaire, which is one of those sneaky shenanigans. And I feel like this Harlequin update only serves to enhance this already bag of tricks that they can just sort of use, that is becoming more and more relevant in the competitive scene.
Cool. Well, let's go over a couple more highlights. What else so they got customization of the characters. That's pretty cool. Gave a good example of that. What else did they get?
The other thing they get is some really cool movement shenanigans. And movement in this game is one of the most powerful things you can use. Movement is one of the only things you can control, which is why it is so powerful. It doesn't have to do with dice. It doesn't have to do with, averages. It is something you can pick to move something. So anything that messes around with that tends to be very, very powerful, whether denying movement or enhancing movement. One of the coolest new stratagems that Harlequins got allows a unit to move or fall back in place of consolidating, which means that you could potentially have a unit of, say, Harlequin jet bikes charge in before the enemy unit gets to attack. Right when that unit consolidates, you spend the command points to then run away with the jet bike unit, which means that unit that you attack never gets to hit you back. Number one. Number two, it can be combined with the double fight stratagem as well. So you can have a Harlequin unit charge 2 completely different units, attack the first unit, spend the command points to essentially move away from the combat, and then spend a double CP, the double attack to attack the second unit before either unit has gotten to a swing at them, and then move away from that second unit as well, or wrap, or whatever it is they need to do, which means they can be bouncing around all over the place. And that sort of movement stuff is crazy good.
So I think, in a word, if we were going to use a word to describe the new Harlequin book, it sounds like shenanigans. Is the word.
Shenanigans. Is there a rule that the game needs to follow? Harlequins can break it. So I love it.
Fantastic. Well, you heard it here first, folks. The Harleys got their shenanigans, and you should be watching out on a table near you.
That's Archon Skari. Don't they look amazing now, the Harlequins? I say look amazing. The rules look amazing. There are a lot of good reviews for them. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out on the tabletop. Next up on the show, the team at Cold Open Stories has been running a short story competition called Fast Fiction. We're going to speak to the winner.
Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org.
Welcome back. One of the best parts of the 40K universe is the lore. It's so vast, and it's really cool to explore it all in all sorts of different ways. I'm a big fan of the Black Library books. I think it's a big part of the hobby, and we don't talk about it enough. Cold Open Stories is a group who publish stories online, fan fiction, unofficial from the 40K universe. And they give us more fun and engaging ways to engage with their stories and also their audio dramas. So they've just run a competition called Fast Fiction. And this week we spoke to Delio Pera, who was the winner. He had his short story published by Cold Open Stories. I managed to speak to Delio about his fiction and about being part of the competition. Delio, thanks for joining us on the show. Really appreciate your time. And congratulations on, are we going to say winning? Is that what we say? Winning the competition, winning the contest?
I guess so. Yeah, there was no prize per se, just getting first place and getting published. But that was prize enough for me. It was the first contest I've ever done like that.
Is it really? This is the first time you've entered a story into a short story competition?
I think, yes. I think I entered a poem a while ago just for the heck of it. I saw a local library did a thing. But yeah, I think this is the first story that I've put into a contest, yeah.
So let's talk about the story in a second. We'll get to that. But what I want to start with the beginning, which is, I think, your entry into 40K and your understanding of the lore. Are you a big reader of 40K books before this point?
Not terribly. I've only really got into 40K in the past 8 months or so, but
Wow.
I definitely like the lore. There's the gaming side, the painting side, the building side, and then the lore side. And I'd say of those three, it's the lore side and the storytelling side of the 40K universe that has drawn me in the most, for sure.
You also do a thing on your own podcast where you read 40K stories. Have I got that right?
That is correct. Yeah. So that started, I think it was about 4 stories into the Psychic Awakening thing. I think they started that, last August of 2019. So I kind of got into it maybe a month or 2 after that. And as kind of diving into the lore and watching a lot of YouTube videos, there's tons and tons of them, but I didn't see anybody doing too many stories. And I think that's partly due to Games Workshop saying, hey, we don't want you reading our stuff. But I kind of think that the stuff that they're putting out for free on their website was fair game. And I've started doing these critiques of the stories and the writing of them more for myself to just kind of learn, hey, can I find the errors here or the good stuff here, and where is it? And yeah, I never really intended to do narration, but it's turned into a thing. And I've been told a few times that I have a halfway decent voice. So I thought, hey, let me give this a wing. And it's been received well.
Now, let's talk about the story itself. Her Name, which I've read through twice now, and I love it. And there's so much in there that I want to kind of pick your brains about. But let's start with where the idea came from.
Okay, well, that is very easy because for the Fast Fiction contest for April, they made it very simple. That you had to have something themed around the word that they had. And for April, that word was reclaim. So how you can interpret that in any number of ways. But the first thing that came to my mind was somebody that wanted their name back. And then as I kind of pondered that a little bit more, I saw a girl that had somehow lost her name. And I thought that's a really important thing to somebody, to have a name. And then I had to think, well, how had she lost this name? Well, why didn't she have a name? How could somebody lose their name? And the planet that I set this on, the shrine world of Palma Alternum, is one that I had visited before in my previous submission to Cold Open Stories called Between the Lines, about a sister of battle traveling these subterranean libraries that run for hundreds, if not thousands of miles. They're just collections of books and scrolls, many of them just lost and forgotten. And so there's just these endless libraries. And I thought, well, let's go back to that planet. I had a lot of fun writing that one. And we'll have a girl, just this lowly outcast girl that there's only so many names that this planet, or that the sister hospitallers can give out in a day. And this girl, she was one of the unlucky ones. They'd ran out of names, so all she got was a number, but she didn't even have that number because it turned to mush because she was left out in the rain. But she was able to figure out who was born right before her, the last girl to get a name on that day. So she hunts this girl down to reclaim what she thinks is rightfully hers, which, I mean, it kind of isn't, but that's not how she sees it.
No, 100%. And the way she gets it back is great. You know, gruesome, but great. And there are some ideas in there as well that I am now a bit like you. I've only been in the game for a couple of years, and I've read some lore, but not a lot of it is Space Marine lore. So it's Sin Seed. Is that your creation, or is that something you've read about previously elsewhere?
No, it's totally my own creation. I just thought, there's probably some weird funguses and molds that would grow on some books, and so these were holy texts, but then you take a holy text, you get a mold that's on it, so it's this decaying thing growing on a holy text, and you press it into this weird oil, and then it turns into sinseed oil. So I don't know. I just thought it was, and with most of my writing, I don't plan anything out. I just start typing, and then this stuff comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, often that's the best way. Listen, I want to first of all congratulate you on placing first in this. Secondly, congratulate you on getting something published, which is something a lot of people never have achieved. And on the quality of the story, I love a lot of the ideas in it and the way you describe the libraries and the way you're touching on a world that you've obviously visited before and are really familiar with, and you make us familiar with it too. It's a really clever story. It's beautifully told, and it's a deserved winner. So congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
And we're really encouraging people to go to Cold Open Stories. I've got to say I'm a big fan of everything they do. Go and have a read of Delio's story and all of the other short fiction. Have a listen to the audio dramas. It's really quality stuff. Delio, thanks for your time.
Of course. Thank you.
That's Delio Pera. The link to his story, which is published via Cold Open Stories, is in the show notes. It's super cool. By the way, if you haven't seen them before, go to Cold Open Stories and have a look at some of the work. Really, listen to the audio dramas. Have a look at the stories. It's very, very cool, unofficial 40K fan fiction. The Army Painter. You've probably heard of the Army Painter. They make paint and brushes and so on. They're purveyors of everything you ever need to get your armies on the table. And they had major plans for expansion this year. There was this global pandemic thing that got in the way. So they shifted gears. It was an expert shift too. With the new equipment in their factories, they put it to good use making hand sanitizer. It was called Nordic Shield. During the week, John Damaris sat down and chatted with Adam Abramowicz from the Army Painter about how it came about, and he gave us a ton of great insight, and as an added bonus, was able to tell us about their newest product.
Hello, Mr. Abramowicz from the Army Painter. Let's talk a little bit about Nordic Shield. I know last time you came on the show, you had talked about your plans to launch it. Now it's officially launched. You guys have gotten hand sanitizer in the hands of students. You want to talk a little bit about how that's going and where you guys are at?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a very exciting time. It was a scary time for us when we first ventured into producing hand sanitizer. As I told you, when you were kind enough to have me on the show before to talk about it, we had the ability to do it and we felt the need to. We just didn't know, even at that time, how great the need was. So we went about getting the raw ethanol from a local gin distiller and producing our own hand sanitizer with, E-vitamins and aloe vera, glycerin, all these great things, 80% alcohol content, which is it's right around 20% more than what's standard on the market. And it's what the WHO and the CDC recommends to kill viruses like COVID-19, the coronavirus. So we didn't just make hand sanitizer, we made one of the most powerful hand sanitizers on the market today. We were able to donate free hand sanitizer to local schools in Denmark so that kids returning to school as they open back up the nation were able to go to school and have clean hands so they could focus on learning and nothing else. And, for anybody that has, children at home at this point in time, it's affecting them greatly. I know even my now just turned 5-year-old, she knows what the coronavirus is, and she has that in the back of her mind every day. So if we could just take a little bit of the load off for these kids as they go back to school, then we feel like our job is accomplished. But we've gotten to the point now where we're ready to distribute and find this new product, the Nordic Shield, into the distribution channels where it can find the areas that it's needed most, places like New York, places like Spain that have been hit the absolute hardest. And it's even more important now as states and countries are reopening that we have clean hands, because doctors still say that that's the number one way to protect yourself from COVID-19. So that's really exciting.
What I think is really cool about it is because it's going to be distributed by game store distributors like,
Right.
ACD and the like. Your game store is going to be able to get a hold of this high quality sanitizer just with the normal everyday orders that they make.
Exactly.
So it gives them access to providing a safe environment for us gamers, because we like to hang out at the game store. So I think it's going to be a really big deal. So maybe just, if you guys are listening to this, ask your game store to inquire about getting it, because it's like Adam said, it's a high quality sanitizer, and it's actually a very difficult thing to get a hold of. So
yeah, it is.
I know when I go to Walmart, the shelves are pretty much empty. So
my wife is a dentist, and she works in the healthcare field, and she has a very difficult time, and has for months, getting her hands on hand sanitizer, let alone other personal protection equipment for her and her staff. So for the game stores, it chances are it's going to be slightly differently branded. It might not be the Nordic Shield. It might be the Army. We're not quite sure how we're going to do it, but it's definitely going to be very game and nerd focused, which we're very excited about. It's going to come in our standard 18 milliliter bottles. So, when you're sitting there, you got to think about it. When we're playing a game like Warhammer 40K or, X-Wing, we're touching each other's models, we're touching each other's dice, we're touching the same terrain. We've got our hands on the mats, we're high-fiving. We come in contact with each other quite a bit as we're playing these games. So it's very important that we keep ourselves sanitized and clean, so we're not transferring this virus from gamer to gamer. So yeah, we're definitely very excited. We do know a couple of distributors have picked up several thousand bottles. So when the game stores are ready and able to open, they will be able to stock it and keep it on their shelves.
Very cool. Well, let's change gears a little bit. From what I understand, Army Painter is in the middle of a huge expansion, which includes moving to bigger manufacturing facilities. So congratulations on that. And then also, I wondered if you wanted to give our listeners maybe a sneak peek of some cool new products that are coming down the pipe.
Oh, I love to talk about new products, Sean. You hit me right in the feels, because that's my favorite thing to talk about. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are in the middle of a big expansion. This was planned before pre-COVID, and we were very concerned that we weren't going to be able to do it because nobody knew what was going to happen to sales. And we've had a few strong years. We've been working really hard to grow the Army Painter presence in the global market, and we've done a very good job of that. I like to say when I started at the company only 3 years ago, I was the 17th hire. Now we have over, I believe, 35 new employees. We were working out of a facility that they had been in since year one. They started in Beau's shed, literally his red shed on his property. They were fulfilling orders for quick shade and battlefields, and then color primers happened. And when we came out with color primers, the business grew a great deal in year one, year two. And we've been in that same facility, but we've overgrown it. We couldn't expand into it any further. We went from just a few hundred square feet to almost taking over the entire complex, and we've had nowhere to grow. The best thing that you can for anybody that's warehousing and distributing product is lots of headspace, and we had very little headspace at this location. So we're excited. We're moving from Herning, Denmark to Skanderborg, and this new facility is great. It's solar powered, which is awesome. So we've got solar panels in the front of the building. It's much larger. You're going to have great gaming space, which we're really excited about. And it's just been very exciting to be a part of the growth of this company and to see this company succeed. Part of that growth, that was that pending growth that enabled us to produce the hand sanitizer to begin with, was the fact that we purchased a second machine to produce paints. We were going to double our output of paint for the global market. And, because we had this second machine just waiting to be assembled and built, we said, okay, let's build this now and let's make hand sanitizer with it, which has been really cool. We did have at the beginning of the year, January 1st, it was going to be a crazy year for new releases for us. It was like 2 new releases every month almost. And we were worried in the marketing and sales departments how we were going to keep up. And obviously that's been slowed down a little bit. COVID has affected our ability to produce and secure product and create product, but we do have some really new and exciting products on the way. The middle of June, we'll see the debut. I think we talked about it briefly on the last call. Our Hydra Pack refills for the wet pellet are going to be, hitting streets middle of June, and so will our brand new Airbrush Medium 2-in-1 Flow Improver and Thinner to convert your war paints into airbrush ready paints. We're very excited about that. And if you've been paying attention and following along to the Army Painter on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you'll see that we've developed a new product for us. It's we're calling it the Masterclass Dry Brush Series. These are goat hair dome-shaped bristle dry brushes that are, top-notch. I've produced 6 videos in the past week showcasing how these dry brushes work and behave compared to your traditional flat dry brushes, and the results are incredible. You can do so much with it beyond dry brushing, like push blending and stippling. We're very excited about this. This is going to be an extremely high-end product, like I said, made with premium goat hair, which is very stiff. It stands up to a lot of hard work and abuse, and it dries insanely fast. And it's going to retail for about $20 US. When you compare that to other similar products on the marketplace, there's just no competition for it. So the pre-order for that opens up Friday the 26th. If I'm remembering my days correctly, we're all kind of lost in the time warp here, staying at home, sheltering in place. I believe it's Friday the 26th. That pre-order will go live, and it should be about a September street date. So if you're interested in getting your hands on these new premium dry brushes, definitely stay tuned to the Army Painter on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for that pre-order date.
All right. Well, that sounds like fantastic news, Adam. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
That's Adam from the Army Painter. Let's all go support the Nordic Shield by giving them a follow on Facebook. The link is in the show notes. Okay, folks, who's ready to sing along?
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the model of the day.
So every day during our regular weekday show, we have a feature called The Model of the Day, and this song will get stuck in your head forever, and that's okay. This week, we've been able to show off some stunning work, all sorts of amazing work, but on Friday, we had something really special, and so that's going to be our Model of the Week. It's a Tyrannocyte model, which is literally in utero. Luke, a guy named Luke, actually from the north of England, but living in New Zealand now, has a blog called Monkey Chucker. He's created a Tyrannocyte womb. The Tyrannocyte itself is amazingly well painted and crafted. It splits in half. So it just looks like a normal model, but then it splits in half and opens, and inside it is a tyrannid baby and a bunch of eggs and all sorts of other bits and pieces. The model is so beautifully done. For the conversion and the painting, pictures are on our Facebook and on our Instagram. What I'd love for you to do, though, is go to Luke's blog, Monkey Chucker, and see the whole story of how he created it. The link to it is in our show notes. And as always, if you have a model that should feature on our show during the week, or if you've seen a model, let us know about it. We'd love to hear about it. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. You still have time, by the way, to enter our mega 40K prize giveaway. Along with Art of War, we have $5,000 US worth of prizes to give away. If you go to 40kprizes.com to enter, use the word Daily40K. That's the code word, Daily40K, for an extra 5 entries into the competition. I want to say a big thanks to our content producer, Alex Painter, our social media guru, Tanya Gates, and our technical producer, Seamus Ronan, for all of their hard work and once again putting a big show together. If you have anything you think should feature on our program, please get in touch. You can just get hold of us via 40K Today on Facebook. Make sure you join us during the week. Val Heffelfinger from 40K Stats Center is with us. He's got some big news he wants to share. So we'll see you on Monday. Until then, for the 40K Today team, I'm Steve Joel. Thanks to Frontline Gaming Network for having us. That's what's happening in 40K Today.